Korah abuses Moses and the Torah by Ginzberg. Then Korah betook himself to the people to incite them to rebellion against Moses, and particularly against the tributes to the priests, imposes upon the people by him, that the people might now be in a position to form a proper conception of the oppressive burden to these tasks. Korah told them the following tale that he had invented. There lived in my vicinity a widow with 2 daughters, who owned for their support a field whose yield was just sufficient for them to keep body and soul together. When this woman set out to plow her field, Moses appeared and said, "Thou shalt not plow with an ox and an ass together." When she began to sow, Moses appeared and said, "Thou shalt not sow with divers seeds." When the first fruits showed in the poor widow's field, Moses appeared and bade her bring it to the priests, for to them are due the first of all the fruit of the earth. And when at length the time came for he to cut it down, Moses appeared and ordered her, not wholly to reap the corners of the field, not to gather the gleanings of the harvest, but to leave them for the poor. When she had done all that Moses had bidden her, and was about to thrash the grain, Moses appeared once more and said, "Give me the heave offerings, the first and the second tithes to the priest." When at last the poor woman became aware of the fact that she could not now possibly maintain herself from the yield of the field, after the deduction of all the tributes that Moses had imposed upon her, she sold the field, and with the proceeds purchased ewes, in the hope that she might now undisturbed have the benefit of the wool as well as the younglings of the sheep. She was, however, mistaken. When the firstling of the sheep was born, Aaron appeared and demanded it, for the firstborn belongs to the priest. She had a similar experience with the wool. At shearing time, Aaron reappeared and demanded the first of the fleece of the sheep, which, according to Moses' law, was his. But not content with this, he reappeared later and demanded 1 sheep out of every 10 as a tithe, to which again, according to the law, he had a claim. This, however, was too much for the long-suffering woman, and she slaughtered the sheep, supposing that she might now feel herself secure, in full possession of the meat. But wide of the mark, Aaron appeared, and basing his claim on the Torah, demanded the shoulder, the 2 cheeks, and the maw. "Alas," exclaimed the woman, "the slaughtering of the sheep did not deliver me out of thy hands. Let the meat then be consecrated to the sanctuary." Aaron said, "Everything devoted in Israel is mine, it shall then be all mine." He departed, taking with him the meat of the sheep, and leaving behind him the widow and her daughters weeping bitterly. "Such men," said Korah, concluding his tale, "are Moses and Aaron, who pass their cruel measures as divine laws." 567. Pricked on by speeches such as these, Korah's horde appeared before Moses and Aaron, saying, "Heavier is the burden that ye lay upon us than was that of the Egyptians, and moreover, as since the incident of the spies, we are forced annually to offer as a tribute to death 15,000 men, it would have been better for us had we stayed in Egypt." They also reproached Moses and Aaron with an unjustified love of power, saying, "Upon Sinai all Israel heard the words of God, I am thy Lord. Wherefore then lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord." 568. They knew no bounds in their attacks upon Moses. They accused him of leading an immoral life, and even warned their wives to keep far from him. 569. They did not, moreover, stop short at words, but tried to stone Moses. 570. When at last he sought protection from God and called to him for assistance, he said, "I do not care if they insult me or Aaron, but I insist that the insult of the Torah be avenged. If these men die the common death of all men, I shall myself become a disbeliever and declare the Torah was not given by God." 571.